Okay, so we've all heard the news. We've all seen the video of the shooting. Unfortunately, Charlie Kirk, who I believe is the founder of Turning Point USA, TPUSA, was assassinated in Utah at an event at a college, I believe, where it seemed like he was getting ready to have one of his famous me versus 200, 300 students or however many he does, where he debates and gives speeches about conservatism and Christianity and whatnot and so forth. I myself wasn't too familiar with Charlie. Well, first of all, rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Uh, you know, um, I wasn't familiar with Charlie Kirk's content as much as maybe you might have been or others, right? Like I've seen the clips of him versus the students. I've seen, him. I think he did an interview or discussion with Cenk Uygur one time that I watched from Charlie Kirk. So I've seen material from him. I've seen content, but I wasn't a religious follower of his content. So, but listen, man, the guy ended up. I think his YouTube it has somewhere to like 2 million to 3 million subscribers. He hosted a talk show. He was huge in the content game, especially amongst the youth, the younger people. Which for the conservative side, the Republican side, is a big deal. When you think about the fact that conservatives and Republicans had a big issue trying to connect with younger audiences, so he was a huge deal. And to have his life taken from him just like this is kind of insane, right? Like, we all think that we have all the time left in the world. And it's funny because I'm reading this book, I have it right next to me right now, called, How to Have a Life by, well, it's not by, but it's uh, Seneca, who was a tutor to Nero from Rome. I think this is based off of one of his essays about the shortness of life. And, one of his arguments that he makes in the book is, because life isn't tangible, time isn't tangible, we assume we have so much of it left, right? It's not like money that you can touch and you can see. It's not like real estate, right? You can see where your land starts, you can see where it ends, you can see the condition that it's in. With time, with life, you can't you can't see it, you can't touch it. So, in some ways, we assume we have so much of it left, and it's so unpredictable, right? So unpredictable. No way Charlie ever imagined that he would go out this way, this young. Maybe he foresaw that he would go out this way, but no way he thought the combination of this way and also today. Just it's just you can't even imagine it. And while I feel so sad for his family, his wife and children, there's a report out there saying that they were at attendance when he was assassinated, which is just horrendous. That the last memory you have of your father, your husband, is a bullet through the neck, bleeding, and chaos. Like, uh, you know, my sympathy goes to them definitely, but everyone else, I think, or a lot of people are being stupid about this in ways that really do confuse me. That I wanted to kind of touch on briefly before I go to bed because I have work in the morning. And kind of, one of those instances, or one example of the stupidity around this, I'm on X kind of reading the posts from people that are trying to say something, that Charlie Kirk, this was karma for Charlie Kirk because he was super divisive. Some people are calling him a white supremacist or a white nationalist. He was a racist, blase, blase, blah, right? All of these things, right? Um, and whenever people make the karma argument or the he deserved this or, what goes around comes around argument, I always think, do they feel this way just about people that they don't like, or do they hold this view with everyone? Because if that's the case, so the 6 and 7 year old that dies from cancer, this is karmic retribution, right? Like the child or the innocent mother that gets shot by a stray bullet in some city somewhere. This is some karma or law of physics of every action has an opposite and equal reaction, right? Like she did something to deserve this. The cancer child did something to deserve this. The woman in a third world country that gets captured by some guerrilla gang and gets assaulted she did something to deserve this? Like, I'm assuming these people don't think that these individuals that they will regard as innocent earned this thing. So then what you're saying is random acts can happen or bad things can happen that has nothing to do with the individual and their actions, right? Which then leads to, okay, well, how can you tell which actions are a part of karmic retribution versus, which actions do you just chalk up to, randomness of God, nature, the universe, whatever, right? I just wish people would think of these things through, think a little bit more before they, make these terrible arguments. Right. So I think those comments are dumb. I think the people who are, saying that, we are on the brink of a race war. I've seen some of those posts as well. And with X, you have to be kind of careful because a good amount of people on X are bots. They don't have bots, or these are accounts made specifically for hyperbole, for overreaction, for kind of raising the temperature type of thing, because they don't have no profile picture. They have weird names, with numbers at the end. But I've seen the race war thing, and let me tell you, not only are we nowhere close to having a race war, no one actually would want to. No one wants a race war. Like, I can promise you, if you are a white person, watching this video, you don't want a race war. If you are a black person, you don't, want a race war, right? We had a war where it was citizen versus citizen in this country previously, the Civil War, in which many Americans died. And if you read anything written about this war, if you talk to any historian about what happened during this war, it was one of the bloodiest, saddest couple of years in the history of this country. Like, I don't know how y'all can look at these pictures coming out of Gaza and Israel and be so affected, and then also are clamoring for some type of race war, when war just brings death, mayhem, pain, resentment, right? Like, throw out some other confusion. No real solution comes from war. Truly, it's not effective. It doesn't lead you where you think you want to be led. And when you look back after it's over, you will look at yourself and think, really, we did all of that for this? Like, there is no race war coming. Most Americans have a non-negative view of other Americans, right? It might not be positive. We all have kind of stereotypes that we believe, and we may, hold some, bigoted thoughts, whatever. But for the most part, for a country that is as racially, ethnically, geographically diverse as we are, we get along shockingly well, like to an astonishing degree, for us to have the elections that we have every 4 years on a federal level, for us to have, like, we don't have the problem that other countries have that are as ethnically and racially and, geographically diverse as we are, where you do have that kind of, tribes warring with each other over decades, many citizens being caught in between, these two groups. We don't have that. We really don't. And we need to remember that as we engage with each other online, and to not forget that the commentary that you see online, for the most part, these are the most extreme takes from the more extreme people, right? Like, most people that are on X actually don't post, right? Most people sign up to X and they just read what other people write and post. They don't post themselves. Other ones that post, in order for you to get engagement, in order for you to get, a large follower account, to get many retweets, to get many likes, you kind of have to tiptoe in the extreme. And so that's why you kind of see, especially since Elon Musk started, paying people out, for high engagement, people are choosing to go the more extreme route because that's how they kind of make their money. And so you have to keep that in the back of your mind while you think the world is burning. I just spat all over the place. You have to keep that. You have to keep that. Excuse me, in the back of your mind as you, to prevent you from thinking that the world is burning down, because the world is not burning down, right? We're not at each other's throats like this. Are there problems? Of course there are problems, because we are human beings and we are imperfect creatures with many flaws. But we are a country that is, for our makeup, like far, far, far away from some type of race war, between various ethnic and racial groups. Nowhere near close. Other stupid things that I've seen: gun control. I'm seeing people say that, this is. I think I saw Stephen King, and I'm excited for Stephen King's the new movie coming out based off of his book about the kids that have to walk, and if they walk slower than 3 miles per hour, they get shot. Right? He's one of the greatest authors of all time, of our time, definitely. It was unfortunate when you kind of see somebody say something that is, you think, an intelligent person said this. And Stephen King has been talking about gun control and how we should take the assassination of Charlie Kirk as a call to rein in the guns. We know nothing about the shooter. We know nothing about the type of weapon that was used. We don't know if the person that shot Charlie Kirk bought these weapons illegally or bought them legally, right? If they bought them legally, we don't even know. Okay, they might have gotten a background check and passed with flying colors, because again, a lot of places do background checks. I know, people on the left and Democrats have convinced us that, or some of you out there, that, everywhere in the country, people can just go and get a gun, right after they have a psychotic break. That is not the case. We do background checks to a certain degree. So we know nothing about the shooter, the weapon, motives. We don't know anything. So for people to kind of come out and say, hopefully this leads to some gun control, I don't know how you are connecting A to B. Like, I don't know how you got there, my friend. I don't. Yeah, how long? It's been 12 minutes. Again, where do we go from here? Where does this lead us? I don't know. I really don't. Again, I don't think we're anywhere near close to like a race war. I don't think we're going to see, mobs of people shooting each other in the street. Could be wrong, but I don't predict that, coming. I do predict some pretty bad rhetoric from both sides, from conservatives and Democrats, about, trying to use this shooting for political posturing, political gain, just because that's the nature of the beast. Anyone who is in media, in Congress, in any type of governmental position of power, they want more power. They look to exploit these things for political gain, right? It is what it is. And I imagine we will see that happen to a disgusting degree in the very near future. And by very near, I mean probably tomorrow. So, but for the rest of you, for the rest of us, normal civilians, I do think it is time for us to really kind of, take a step back, look at the entire picture, look at the canvas. Most of you are safe. We live in one of the safest times in human history, even if, political violence does seem to be becoming more prevalent, and we should deal with that issue on its own. But don't lose perspective on this. Right? Like, I really do think we kind of have to keep perspective. We have to, relax, take a step back, log off if you have to. Don't let your emotions be in the driver's seat for the next day or two. If you're really angry and hypercharged, overcharged by this assassination, right? Take a beat, allow yourself to re-regulate. Maybe even write down what you're feeling or how you're feeling so that you can get to it at a later point. There's no problem with that, doing that. But don't allow this situation to drive you off of a cliff, drive you off of a ledge. It's not worth it. All right. Again, I think I'm gonna just post this. I'm not gonna do too much editing because I want it out there as soon as possible, and it's late. But I would love to hear your thoughts on what I had to say. What are your thoughts on Charlie Kirk? What are your thoughts on TP USA? Charlie Kirk's legacy, right? Matter of fact, let me end this here because even though I'm not familiar with Charlie Kirk's work, I have profound respect for Charlie Kirk because he built something. Like, he built something which is significantly more difficult than criticizing and tearing things down, like burning things to the ground. It is easy to criticize. It is easy to burn things to the ground. It is easy to tear things down. It is incredibly difficult to build something in general. It is even more difficult to build something that becomes incredibly successful and then to sustain it the way Charlie Kirk has. Like, it's just the truth. And so I have to, as somebody who was trying, trying to do something similar to Kirk, not to the same degree, but with my media and getting my voice out there, I have to respect the man who would build something like he did to an extremely successful business media empire, when he could have done what many people do and just kind of sit back and criticize and try to tear down and woe is me himself to death, because he didn't. And for that, I do think he deserves all of the respect in the world. And so again, rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Definitely, my mind is with his family, his kids. I hope they're able to kind of navigate this difficult time in their life. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon.